Happy Thursday and welcome to the SWBN News Watch, where we report global events from a Christian perspective. I am Chimilachike. Thanks for joining us tonight. In a recent development, the New York Post reported that security guards ordered a man to remove his t-shirt on the grounds that some shoppers found it offensive. The video footage taken at the Mall of America has since sparked online outrage. The amateur footage shows the man in question in a t-shirt that read "Jesus saves" on the front and "Jesus is the only way" on the back, with the diocese symbol crossed out. The diocese symbol represents peace among different religions. In the video, one of the guards tells the man that, quote, "Jesus is associated with religion and it's offending people," end of quote. The Mall of America's policy forbids picketing, demonstrating, soliciting, protesting, or petitioning on the premises. It also disapproves of apparel that has obscene languages, obscene gestures, or racial or religious or ethnic slurs that are likely to create a disturbance, their website revealed. The security guard said the man's religious t-shirt still counted as soliciting even if he was not actively preaching. Meanwhile, a spokesperson told Daily Mail that the man was eventually allowed to keep his shirt and go about his shopping. Many Christians have said they were shocked to learn the video was taken in the United States. In a tweet, Carol Harper wrote that, quote, "There is no way this should happen in the USA. He has a free speech right to wear that shirt and a freedom of religion right to practice his faith in public places. More people should wear Christian shirts to that mall," end of quote. Still responding to this story, Pastor Chase Thompson tweeted, quote, "He should sue them into oblivion. This wouldn't have happened anywhere in the United States until very recently, and it certainly wouldn't have happened if he'd had a pride shirt on and even 50 people complained," end of quote. The New York Post reported that others plan to wear Jesus shirts en masse to the shopping mall as a protest. Still in the United States, Faithwire reported that one Catholic diocese in Iowa is taking a clear stance against the modern-day sexual revolution, insisting congregants use the locker rooms and bathrooms that correspond with their biological sexes and barring them from employing preferred pronouns in church-linked activities. The Diocese of Des Moines has begun implementing the new policy. In a 6-page statement, the diocese wrote, and I quote, "Any parochial, organizational, or institutional documentation which requires the designation of a person's sex is to reflect that person's biological sex. No person may designate a preferred pronoun in speech or in writing when related to the ministry activities of any kind, nor are parishes, organizations, or institutions to permit such a designation. To permit the designation of a preferred pronoun, while intended as an act of charity, instead promotes the dissociation of biological sex and gender and thereby confuses or denies personal integrity," end of quote. The church leaders further wrote that respect for creation includes respect for one's biological sex. The human person is a body-soul union, and the body, as created, male or female, is an essential aspect of the human person. The mystery of human sexuality as a key component of personal identity is received as a gift created by God that we are not authorized to seek to change. Meanwhile, the New York Post reported that the new rules applies to the 80 parishes, 17 schools, and 130,000 members under Bishop William Johnson's leadership. While that is the case, there are some reactions. Courtney Reyes, the executive director for the LGBTQ group, One Iowa, rebuked the church, claiming, quote, "You cannot pretend to be compassionate while misgendering people and denying them access to any and all spaces under your control," end of quote. Others praised the diocese for its bold shift, writing, "At last," while another called the rules good. Finally, added someone else, "a church that is acting like a church." On that note, we urge you to pray the Lord to restore his church to biblical truths. Stay with us. Faithwire also reported that Christian persecution has continued to rage across the globe. Believers are facing killings, kidnappings, chaos and crises at the hands of government, extremists, and even family members. Among the persecution trends unfolding today, Open Doors, an organization monitoring Christian persecution worldwide, warns that sub-Saharan Africa faces catastrophic collapse as Islamist violence breaks out in the region. Lisa Pierce, the interim CEO of Open Doors US office, reflected on the dire nature of these findings. In an interview with CBN's Faithwire, she stressed the importance of Christians knowing and understanding the full scope of global persecution, citing biblical commands for believers to offer love and support and pray for one another. Pierce described the situation in sub-Saharan Africa as a vast humanitarian catastrophe, noting that religiously motivated violence nurtured in Nigeria has swept across the region, targeting Christian populations at an alarming rate in countries like Burkina Faso, Cameroon, Mali, and Niger. Signs of jihadist expansion are also clearly visible in Mozambique, Congo DR, and other countries. In the most recent attack in Congo, the Voice of America reported that Islamic extremists claimed responsibility for the bombing of a church in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, as authorities said the toll from that Sunday's attack had risen to at least 14 dead. The Islamic State group and its Amaq news outlet issued statements saying that its militants had planted an explosive device inside the Pentecostal church in Kasindi and detonated it while people were praying. The extremists claimed the bomb killed 20 Christians. Congolese authorities put the toll that Monday at 14 persons dead and at least 63 persons wounded. Pierce encouraged Christians to pray for the afflicted, for them to feel the presence of God, and to know their suffering does not mean that they are forgotten by God. In Israel, Fox News reported that the plight of Christians in the region has increased drastically. This month, 2 teenage suspects vandalized 28 tombstones in the Protestant Mount Zion Cemetery, a Christian cemetery in Jerusalem. The attack was condemned by Israel's foreign ministry, which called the attack an immoral act and an affront to religion. Jerusalem's Anglican Archbishop Hussam Nahum called it a clear hate crime. The British consulate said it was just the latest in a string of assaults on the Christian community in the holy city of Jerusalem. Health said the Israeli government is pursuing the criminal prosecution of the desecration of the gravestones. Meanwhile, despite the persecution against Christians in Israel, a report has shown a 2% growth in the Israeli Christians population. Israel's Central Bureau of Statistics, CBS, reported the findings in December. The publication of the new data coincided with Christmas and showed roughly 185,000 Christians live in Israel and make up 1.9% of the country's population. According to the report, the Christian population increased by 2% in 2021. Israel's population is at 9.6 million. For final story, medical analyst Dr. Lena Wen told CNN that the United States has been overcounting the deaths and hospitalizations of patients due to COVID-19 and stressed the importance of transparent reporting on the actual numbers, Fox News reported. In response to questions about whether Wen's claims could be a fodder for conspiracy theorists, Wen simply stated, "We just need the truth," and mentioned that the United States medical community needs to fine-tune a better way to record COVID-19's harm to the community. Still on COVID-19, The Telegraph reported that the British Heart Foundation recorded about 30,000 more deaths than expected involving heart disease since the pandemic began, more than 230 additional deaths over expected rates each week. In some weeks last year, there were more than 1,000 deaths with cardiovascular disease mentioned on death certificates. The Telegraph believes there are other factors contributing to this other than the COVID-19 vaccines. To that, pro-vaccine British cardiologist Asim Malhotra is now of the opinion that the COVID-19 vaccine is causing cardiovascular diseases. His healthy father suffered a heart failure after taking the booster shot. The Telegraph reported. Earlier this year, social media became awash with speculations that Buffalo Bill's Damar Hamlin had suffered a cardiac arrest as a result of the COVID-19 vaccine. USA Today fact-checked the claim as false. Hamlin's agent also told USA Today there was no known link between the COVID-19 vaccine and the athlete's injury, calling the claim ridiculous. Multiple medical experts also said it is unlikely the vaccine caused Hamlin's cardiac arrest, given the long history of cardiac issues in other athletes predating the COVID-19 vaccines. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, patients have experienced myocarditis following COVID-19 vaccination, but the condition only happens in about 1 out of 100,000 people who get one of the mRNA vaccines. This is where we wrap up for tonight's edition of the SWBN News Watch. Till we meet next Thursday 9 p.m., I remain Chimela Chike. Thanks for staying with us and God bless you.